We are live, but apparently it's John that is. Why is it showing you? Immersive? No.
Maybe
It's
I'm
only going to let me do
pinned.
YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you pinned?
No, I hope not.
How do I... I'm pinned. Oh, I know what it is. Is it allow myself to be... see myself as active speaker when speaking. Now, where am I hearing... Where am I hearing an echo of myself?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
on
hey
mute.
guys.
Yeah.
Hey. Okay, bear with us for a moment. We are... Okay, we're not going to be on LinkedIn. Okay, thanks, Jeff. Also, it's not showing the countdown. Oh, because that was the sound of the meeting, the thing starting. Okay, I see John. I'm just trying to get... I'm just trying to... Oh, it's here. Sorry, I'm just trying to find out where my echo is coming from. Is it arc? Let's see if I just quit. Yeah, it's arc. But I do need that up. Hold on, everyone. I'm getting there. We're getting there. We've just got to make sure. I just want to make sure that I can see what you're saying. And then, because otherwise, what kind of live stream is it? Okay, so we have an excellent connection, allegedly. I can see this. I've got Zoom open. I've got this open. Right. Okay, now how do I pin the active speaker onto the stream using Zoom? Speaker. Hey! Oh, all right. And then it's just... Let me just make sure that I can see what I'm seeing. And everybody ready? Everybody excited? I just okay, I'm just going to drag this up and have a transparent window for my Q cam. Because it's playing. See, the professionalism goes out the window as soon as you try something new sometimes, doesn't it? You find yourself grappling, and then there's an issue with with doing the YouTube from Zoom, which is we haven't figured out yet how to schedule it, because it seems as soon as we create the event it starts streaming immediately, so we need to figure that out. Right, so but I think we are ready to go, so I am going to start. Everyone get ready. Okay, today I've got John Ittleson with me to talk about, well, John's going to talk about how he makes videos really easily and has a lot of fun doing it. But first, here is a montage of my apps. This is Squares TV App Lab number 62, where I show you how to tie together your Mac, iPhone and iPad with all the apps I've been making and talking about via Squares TV. And today we're on a Zoom call, so who have we got but John During and John Ittleson? And let's see if when you say hi, your faces appear.
Let's see if my face appears when I say hi. Did that work?
I'm not sure. It's inconclusive. Oh, no, it seems to have,
Well,
yes.
I'll try to say hello too and see how my face works.
Splendid. Nice to see you both. Thanks for coming back and joining me. It looks like we've got picture. I'm kind of having a look at YouTube. Tony says, "Oh, do you have?" I think I'm just going to send that to Tony on YouTube. Well, it's this page that you're on, Tony. What are we doing? So what we're going to do, I was going to just give you some updates. This is all very stressful, not quite knowing how it's going to work or what's going to happen. So, and I like to, I've been sort of refining the program, and now it's just all the goalposts have moved. So who knows what it's going to feel like, but I think it's going to be worth it for the conversation. But yeah, so I'll start off by just saying, okay, this is a flaky dev version of QCam Live. Make my excuses up front because always got to make an excuse. So if I do freeze, I will be back, but I guess it doesn't matter as much this week because you guys can cover for me. And I'll start with some updates. So I've had this on my to-do list for ages. I've added a little spirit level feature to Shoot, which I've been meaning. I really like how the Apple one works, and I just kind of like figured out how to do that. And I was patting myself on the back with how much I know about how to draw things that intersect and like mask each other out. So I'll show you that in a moment. The other thing I've been working on is a video, a sort of like pitch, like a demo viral marketing video, for QCam. To just really sort of try and pull together a message and say really what it is, so no one is in any confusion as to what it's for and what it's not. And then finally, yeah, development continues, and I did have to sort of dip into the emergency fund and upgrade my Mac. So I got a new Mac over the weekend. I am now running M3 Max instead of M1 Pro. So that is making my process a whole lot less staring at spinners and going, now it's a bit more like, oh, how do I do this? And less, why isn't it doing what I want it to do? So it's sort of speeding. It's going to definitely it's allowing me to put polish on it that it was too painful to do. Like it was too slow to iterate on that when it was taking it was sort of, you get the live previews of your code and it sort of comes up visually, but it was starting to just time out all the time. So I'd try and look at something and it just wouldn't let me. And so the only way I was going to be able to do that was run the whole app and go through this really slow cycle. And when you're just lining up a pixel here and there, that starts to feel very frustrating because it was fine 2 years ago. And for whatever reason, the computer has slowed down. The planned obsolescence has been activated, but yeah, that's exciting for me, so I'm able to sort of make some progress on that a bit faster now. And also it's really great for video and like rendering in Blender. So but I'll show you first the spirit level. So let's see if I've see what this is. So I'm sharing a QuickTime window. So this is let's switch to the front camera so you don't see my sort of room. If we go into, why? Let's just try that again. If we go into Shoot, it's because it's showing the program feed, isn't it? Right, and you see I've sort of put this. By the way, this button here on the side is now here instead of sometimes like stuck behind that. But I'm going to hide the program feed and show you my camera. And if we scroll down here, if we have a look at the grid setting now, tap on there, and I've got the, if you long press on that, you can select different grids. So let's maybe go for this one, or we'll go for the Fenwick frame. And now you can line up, this is in the TestFlight version, so you line up, try and get it perfect, and it gives you a little tick when you got it perfect. And that's for if you've got a camera this way, and if you're doing a bit of an overhead camera. So let me just switch to an overhead to the other side. If you use the overhead camera, you can see we've got this little, it's quite hard to see on there, but yeah, like you can sort of line up and get that perfectly level. And then, so you do that on a tripod. So that's, yeah, like you might be able to see that more clearly on the floor. But it basically sort of mirrors how the Apple one does it. So now if you just want to get your camera perfect, that's really easy to do with Shoot. The next thing, I was going to...
That's a wonderful feature, because whenever I'm doing things with my iPhone, where the parallel lines are, you're always trying to find something. So that thank you. I'm going to be using.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, it was fun to do. It's one of those things that I wanted to have a break from all the difficult stuff in QCam and just do something for fun on Shoot. The next thing, I'll show you kind of... oh, that's not right. It was supposed to share. Let's come to here and see if we can get our... So I've been working on a little video. So a lot of it is sort of placeholders, but I'm just going to show you like the little moments that I animated yesterday. So we've got this. That's one bit. Took a while. We've got this. This is a little transition here. Right, and then we've got a bit of placeholder. And then this I was quite pleased with. Okay, I'm going to show you that again because a bit bigger, because I love that. I'm quite pleased with my animation there. So we've got a little animation there where the camera comes in, plugs in, spins around, the cards come in, we select zoom, and then we've got this little animation where it sort of flips to the phone. So that's what I did yesterday. Okay, so that's some progress on a little bit of a demo video. I did the music a couple of weeks ago. I sort of sketched out everything I wanted it to be, and now I'm just like chipping away at the animation and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be time consuming, but we'll get there, and hopefully soon we'll have a lovely little video clip that we can really kind of share around and show people what QCam's all about. So that's everything from me. So if you guys are ready, I guess over to you, John D.
Well, okay. Thank you for the nice lead in. Basically, it's a pleasure to be here and share some of the things I've been doing. And when you asked me, what do you want to talk about? I sort of came through a list of things like it saves me so much time. I'm able to send things like I send an email that used to take days. Now I can think about them. So I'll just share a screen, which is my YouTube. That's not what I want. There we go. This is my personal YouTube channel, and I'm publishing stuff all the time, and they're all QCams. And the point is that in this are one after another items that I publish to people I know, sort of like an email. So it's like it's not my job. It's not a profession. It is a message. I'm trying to make a point. And I've never been able to make a point like I can with these tools. And the point is that the point is different depending on the audience. And so the first audience I did this with was my Rotary friends. And then I did a little walk around. I used to row in college, and there was a rowing race, and I picked up some, I call it scratching DNA, just what's going on. And I have my camera, and then I get that B-roll. And then when was the eclipse? 2 days ago? So I did this piece that let's see, I need to turn on musicians audio. for it to sound. Okay, I did this piece that was just to my family. And I was amazed that it worked out the way it did. Today was a big day in the neighborhood. It was the eclipse. It looked like a science project.
If you're sharing desktop, John, you won't get the audio direct from YouTube. No, now I've replaced you as the as the speaker, I think.
Oh no, hang on.
Yeah, we didn't get that audio, John.
Okay.
With the idea
Now.
that I'll look down on the ground.
Are you getting it now?
And I'll be able to
Yeah.
see
Why don't you start from the
changes in the
beginning?
shadows that come from any kind of evidence of the eclipse in
the neighborhood. It was the eclipse. It looked like a science project and a school project rolled into one, but you couldn't see anything. Except if you were in Mazatlan. The image behind me came from there. However, earlier I had walked up and taken a little selfie shot introducing what I was going to do, and the sun was coming over my shoulder, reflecting on my camera face, and the recording picked it up.
Today is the day of the eclipse, so I'm walking into a leafy area with the idea that I'll look down on the ground and I'll be able to see changes in the shadows that come from any kind of evidence of the eclipse in this part of the world.
And here it is, that image and that eclipse, clear as day, dancing in front of me, and I had no idea. Live and learn. So that was just one example of what's emerged as an email. In other words, on all of those that I mentioned, the Rotary, the rowing, a trip to Sonoma, this, taking my camera, capturing B-roll. I have a little mic, which I can actually share. This little guy here is a lifesaver. It's the DJI Mic 2. It does Bluetooth into my camera. I then bring that camera, and the workflow is magical. I airdrop it to my desktop. When it's in my desktop, I'm able to scrub because I can do a quick look. I can say, oh, I want from 20 seconds to 24 seconds here. And then when I drop it into QCam, I can now preview it and I can edit it out to 24 to 26. Then I can take that same clip and do from 28 to 32. And I can make one card progress to the next card. It's like a animatic that I'm just now creating shot 1, shot 2, and I didn't have to put it on a timeline. I don't have to sit there. If I put an overlay, I don't have to now, oh gee, how do I move the other layers? I just present and go through the cards, and it's like, then I get a link. I upload into YouTube, get the link, put it into an email. That one, 2 hours after I had come back from the eclipse, I didn't even know what I had captured. I thought I missed it. And then I put my stuff in, let's see what I got. Nothing to show here. I go, whoa, what's that? And there it was. And so I've got a story to tell. I can make a point. I can share with my family. So I'm sharing it now with you guys.
Well,
Yeah, that's great. I've got sort of two things. One is I wish I'd known that the DJI one would Bluetooth connect before I bought the Rode thing that kind of has to have a dongle plugged in to work. But the other thing, yeah, I'd love to see if you could show your desktop and actually show that document for that Eclipse one maybe, and sort of show some of what you were talking about, like where you go to edit the clip those videos, where you go to sort of drag in those videos. Is that
Yeah, let me go. We're running into a little bit of a problem in that I'm really bad about naming things and bringing up the correct file. And that with a new version of QCam, I can only see 3 cards. So I'm a
you can only
little
see three
bit,
cards?
yeah, I've lost my privileges on regular QCam. I'll share my desktop
Yeah.
so you can see
No,
debugging
you shouldn't
while we.
lose your. Well, I know you shouldn't have lost your privileges on regular QCam, so
But I
because
did
you definitely have
somehow.
a license. Okay,
Uh,
yeah. See if you can.
I
but
want to stop.
John and I were talking about this whole process, and it was fun this morning seeing you in the creative stage that you were doing for your video, and John talking about the creative process that he was doing to create these emails and the training. And it's we have a new tool. We talk about the integration of Shoot and the integration of the video pencil, and now it's all QCam. But that's a different set of options that we have. I sort of, John and I were talking about, again, you could dice onions with a knife and hopefully not cut your fingers off. But when you put it in a food processor, it changes the time that you do it and how you do it. And I think in many ways, a lot what I see happening when I think of my workflow throughput in QCam, many of my old processes were chopping onions and then chopping something else and chopping something else and then getting to another mixing bowl. But in this case, I'm able to put it into a set of files. I use the Apple ecosystem because that's so prevalent when you're working with QCam. And then the QCam is that organizer. And so when I had to teach students to move from one process to another, whether it be moving them from Windows to Mac or going from WordPerfect, if people even remember that, to when they went to Windows, there were all the habits that they had and the workflow they had with the one tool. It's sometimes easier to teach somebody who had no previous experience than when they were creating things in other ways. And so it's been fun to watch John go through this process. And so we've not only talked about what he did, but how he's changed, how he looks at how he's using the tool to make his workflow more efficient. Oh, by the way, the rush that you get with the new Mac, I think that's something that they do because I know that rush too. Endorphins run.
Suddenly it works loads better, and you're like, yeah, I can just do anything. I don't have to think about my activity monitor anymore. And then like a year and a half goes by, and it's like oh.
Anyway, John, are you ready to show that? Your audio's not
John, we
coming
can't
through.
hear you. And also, I think there's a yeah. Oh no, John, maybe go direct mic just to be on the safe side. I don't know if you're firing up multiple versions of QCam because that might. Oh, I don't know if you can even do that. I would just select your microphone.
The joys of live production. And this is the challenge
Yeah,
of showing your stuff, doing your stuff. That John and I were talking about this in terms of demoing because we're getting ready to work with the parts people, and I love the demo mode and we use it, but I think for our parts we're going to have a completely separate machine that's showing what's happening, and
yeah,
then another completely different machine. So because they get some of my parks people got confused when I was on the screen and then pulling up the demo screen like that. So we're going to put it on a totally separate screen so they know what they're doing there.
Well, maybe,
Yeah,
John, I don't know if you're going to.
I think my audio's back.
You're
Yeah, and I've
back.
got to
Yeah.
I did that using the beta. And
Okay.
in doing that, or not, I only had 3 cards I could work with. So the way I worked it, actually, mea culpa, is I would drag in a video, trim it. I would record myself introing that video, and then I'd throw away the card, and then I dragged in the next segment that I had selected, trimmed it down, gave the intro, and then I put it on a timeline in order to get that sequence out. So it's not entirely all QCam, just so you know. I still love a video editor. Give me a good video editor. But the reality is that QCam allowed me to assemble it and to present it in a way that just saved hours.
Okay, well, why don't I sort of like simulate your process? And also, like, there's no reason you should be locked out of anything, John. Like, you're my biggest customer. Like, you've definitely got working licenses. You just tell me, like, if something doesn't work, and I will fix it, because clearly you should have access to both the beta and the normal one, because you're on both of those accounts. I can validate. I know that from memory. But like, if I just sort of like, oh, I see you're sharing your desktop a little bit. Are you going to show a little bit?
No, I'm just showing this is what I see,
Yeah, no,
and I
yeah,
don't know
just
how
tell
to
me.
upgrade. Yeah, yeah.
No, you just have to tell me and say, because like I had to write code to go. If one of them is a beta thing, then and they don't have any real ones, so it should be checking for your real one when you run it. So, yeah, and that's something I can fix instantly on my server. So just always ask, please. This is kind of how I'm imagining. Well, I guess some of the things we can talk about. So you have your video clips. So I'm realizing that this version doesn't. It's not very easy to drag videos in at the moment. But let's say you've got your video that you've added in, and we can see this here. And so I guess you're sort of making another card. Let's just do the same video. This is quite good actually. I don't actually have to look for a video. So then you're able to go into the it's not gonna. Yeah, we can go into the trims, edit, start, end time, and you can actually set explicitly the start and end points, which is easier up here maybe. There's some stuff I have to fix, so we can trim that, and then when we play through that, it's going to start from those points, and you're just sort of like laying out a little sequence, and then you're using the little record feature to. Oh, I've moved it. Let's do that. So we're dragging this out, we're setting our timeline, and then I guess you're hitting the record button here and sort of taking a quick take. Here's me with this, blah, 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 finish, and then you've got your little file, and you're sort of then sort of recomposing that and dropping that into your editor. But yeah, the ability to just, and something I'm working on is, yeah, just grab a couple of videos, drop them in here, and it should just kind of create cards for them, and then you should just, and I'm working on, you should be able to kind of have a nice big editor to adjust it. We have some, it's a beta version, so I have some issues. This isn't a situation on the live one, but just if anyone wasn't clear on what John was talking about, this is me attempting to kind of show what some of that UI
Well,
looks
now
like,
I
will
can
look like.
show it. I do have it. I found it, and this is my timeline with just my 3 slides. But what's great is I've got, my text, and then I go out to whatever the meeting was, and then I can edit the timeline here. And as you can see here, it's just a very small, every time I want to use Video Pencil, I sort of like have to go find it again. So let's go right there. That thing right there is magical, that I can now trim down from a large clip. And then you can see that's at the beginning of that clip. And then on my next card, I'm taking that same footage, but I'm just pulling from a different part of that clip. And that ends up being a great way to take B-roll and just assemble it without being on a timeline and trimming and then getting them out. You can adjust very quickly. So that's really the aha was, oh, drag it in. Oh, the other part of it is that these are all videos from something I'm working on, like using Picacam and DALL-E to do animatic. But for this process back here, so this is the rowing videos. It's so easy to go in and quick look. And so this is a guy telling me about his what he does. And
John, I have to just, you just reminded me of something. You know, you can just press the space bar to quick look.
oh, I didn't know that.
You don't need
This
to
is
right click and scroll down a menu list. Just
there,
whack it, whack the space
there,
bar.
there's a real part of my relationship with you, Michael, which is built around every trick in the book. And I don't. I'm like 5 generations back. And so all the little key that you do, the keystrokes, it's like, whoa, he said it. I can now use that.
Well,
It's awesome.
again, and John and I, when we were talking about what would be something useful for us to talk about on this channel, we could talk about the features and functions and how you do it. We can talk about how the features and functions and the model helps you make better presentations. And we also could talk about the workflow. And it's funny because you were talking about the shortcut of the space bar. When I taught in the university and I was teaching software, I would always go visually. I would go up to the menu, I'd drop it down and show all of those things. So anytime I was teaching, I'd never use a shortcut because that was the way that visually in the class they could see. Now, there were tools you could get that would show the shortcut keys, but never had quite the same effect. So my daughter, who really wanted very little to do with computers because that's what her dad and brother dealt with, but when the school gave them all computers, she got a brand new computer, and I was teaching her how to use it. And I taught it the same way I taught her I do in class. I went to drop down menu, open file, do this. After a week in school, she came back so excited, and she said, "Dad, let me show you something. You could just do these 2 keys." and you could, it automatically did what you did in drop down. And she thought she, discovered water, fire. And I said, "Yes, Sarah, I know that you can do that." But I think, John, you and I are seeing, again, how the ecosystem of Apple really works. So much of what I had difficulties with, particularly with, I won't name names, of other programs that were used for integration. We could talk about PowerPoint, we could talk about Keynote, but there are other programs that were used to create training activity, Camtasia, things like that. That there were so many things that just didn't work the same way every way. And Michael, you've done a wonderful job at taking advantage of the known ecosystem of the Apple and including some of those features, just like you did at the start of the show, where you added the Apple leveling, which I can't wait to do because I could never get my cameras level.
That's great. Anyway, sorry, John, I interrupted you. I just had to tell you about that keyboard shortcut. But yeah, I know, and definitely it's a case that sometimes it is just better to, like, sometimes when I'm making demos of the apps, I have to remind myself to kind of like move the mouse pointer over to the thing and click on it instead of just like pressing the key or anything like that. But I think this will save you about a minute a day, like knowing this keyboard shortcut.
Yeah, I'm finding that Apple's desktop is a magical place to manage your bin so that I can get something from my camera, and I use a Blackmagic camera app, and it takes Bluetooth, and this little microphone is a DJI Mic 2, which just came out 3 months ago, and it does Bluetooth. So I don't need a dongle on my iPhone. So I walk around with this in my pocket. And when I get to some place that I say, oh, there's music in the air, that creates ambiance. Or I'm at a farmer's market and look at all these kids dancing with their grandparents. And I say, this is a scene. And I'm seeing the world in a different way. I'm capturing that world. I'm sort of telling the Apple story here. I'm able to now reflect my experience. But by dragging it to the desktop, I'm able to now very easily scrub through, figure out which ones to throw away. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff I never use. But then, oh, 4 seconds here, 2 seconds there. And my pieces, as you know, are very short, but that is because I'm trying to make a point. Is there a point here in all of this? Is a big question. And I'm basically, oh, that's where the point is. Okay, let's just build it around that. And I get a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. And it's easy to render, it's easy to upload, easy to put in an email. But it's sort of messy at the front end and very nice at the end. And QCam's turned into this little piece that makes it all work together. And so that's why, to me, it's like rather than taking hours, it's taking minutes. But I'm actually spending a lot of time doing things along the way. It doesn't just erase suddenly, it's done. It's still work. But the reality is anybody can do it. The tools are so available and the quality is so amazing.
Thanks, John. I think it's interesting you say like because I've in the past I've had this approach of sort of taking like filming a load of footage and sort of like taking it in, then trying to make it into something coherent, and I find that that's and actually part of the inspiration of QCam and like Beat Sheet before it was sort of came from when I decided, well, I'm going to learn how to use Final Draft and learn how screenplays are written and learn how to sort of, script out action, script out, dialogue. And so I learned, Final Draft, and then I started creating, writing my stuff in advance. So I knew exactly which bits I needed so that then I could, and not have to spend all that time searching for the story. But it's wonderful to hear that like the tool that I've created actually sort of, and this is sort of an illusion. It's good to hear that like the tool that I created also supports that more kind of like, like I've got a load of different things and I just want to see how they work together. Of course, when I did it, I converted the Final Draft script into a Final Cut timeline and then exported a thing and printed it out and circled it and did a load of stuff, and I have videos on that on my YouTube channel. But yeah, like I think being able to do both is super important to me, and that's something I'm glad that QCam, you're finding that it supports coming to it from either way. I think that's really useful.
Yeah, my
Well,
experience was that learning how to write, that I had a buddy who had gone and was really good at that. And I was trying to get a job. I was out of college. And I wrote my introductory, whatever, pitch letter. And he said, let me take a look at it. And he looked at this and he says, I'm going to do something that's really painful. But a professor did this with me. I'm going to do it to you. And he just went through and went, no, 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 no. And the only thing left was the last sentence that I put there. And he said, that's what you're talking about. Start over, just write about that. And that's exactly what I'm doing now.
But I think the thing that Michael, you pointed out, which was interesting, because there was a workflow that when you were doing scripting, like you said, and you used that tool to help you organize, and that tool worked within the production schedule of making television shows or film, and from that you could get your shot sheet, you could get your special effects, you could do all those things. So tools would be created to enhance the workflow. And I think we're going to be developing new tools for the workflow that are impacted by the chat AI. It's going to be the visuals. John was creating some materials, and he just used what is it, not Matterport, the image generator,
Oh, Dolly.
the Dolly.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Dolly. And
essentially,
by the way, ChatGPT is a lot better now than it used to be. You ask it, write me or create a story about so and so, it'll put images in with it. It'll give you a script, it'll give you a description, and eventually I think it'll give you videos. So, what we're talking about, I think, is just a precursor to what's going to become widely adopted in a lot of different places.
well,
So go
it's
on,
what
John.
Michael's doing
Yeah.
with yours. You started with just a set of images in a row and a general script, and now you're filling them out. You're filling them out with your animations, your transitions, then you're going to fill out the segments. But you're able to do that all, in a flow that very rapidly, what I would call rapid prototyping. Sometimes with students, we would even do the old days of flip books. Back in the real old days, we'd still images and we just flip through it so they get a sense of what the flow was. So I think we're creating new workflows because we have new sets of tools to slice and dice what we're finally going to end up with. I'm sure, John D., your families are going to get very different emails from you now that are going to be much more interactive and much more visual and have sounds and effect, because you now are traveling with your full production studio in your pocket with the iPhone and your lavalier mic.
I started reading your book recommendation, John, today. I think it was the Slideology or something like that. But yeah, and one of the first things they say
There's a
is,
number of them. Slideology. There was the presentation Zen, and I've been reading them also. But go ahead, give me your feedback.
yeah, no. Well, one of the first things they say is like, don't sort of jump straight into your presentation software to come up with your ideas, because you need, and sort of really saying pencil and paper. And I think that's why kind of when I am and this is as well as having the AI stuff, like that's really useful to have, but like I literally I go pen and paper. But now obviously that's like iPad, so I sort of like figured out the timings of everything, and then sort of just hand drew my entire, what I wanted to kind of figure out. And I think just sometimes when you are trying to plan something rather than sort of discover it, it can be useful to, just have a pen and paper. I do love the like Apple Pencil on an iPad with like freeform and sort of bringing together my my little references and things like that. It's really useful to have that, and sometimes that is better than just sort of jumping into the tool. The other thing that I'm working on, it's quite a simple thing to do. I've figured out how I want the UI to work in QCam to allow you to just quickly add in, give me 3 cards on this, give me, just to add them into your script, give me a picture, give me like a video, as you say, it's probably going to happen soon. One thing I found with, I think it's useful when you kind of know what the expectations are. But one thing I found working for clients over the years was, and I think something that could end up happening with ChatGPT, like generating videos and images, is I started to realize sometimes if you come in with something that looks a bit too polished, then it feels like to the person you're presenting to that it's more finished than it actually is. And actually sometimes it's worth taking a bit of extra time to make it look sketchier, even though you're prototyping it in perhaps like a tool that already has like styling and all that kind of thing, and it's really easy to make it look polished. Actually, like there's these JavaScript frameworks where you can make it look sketchy so that the person looking at it knows, okay, this is an animatic, this is not a finished thing, this is not the style. And that's something that it may be something that I can sort of bake into the prompt that you give
Yeah, no,
ChatGPT.
I know
Put this
exactly
in a
what you're
sketchy,
saying in
loose
terms
style
of,
to make sure that everyone knows it's
if
it's
it
a
looks
work in
too
progress.
finished, they feel it's locked in stone. But this is the power of Video Pencil for me, because with Video Pencil, I have all the ability of typing some notes, writing, make it very rough, but I'm still staying at my desk with the computer and my iPad there. In the old days, I would have sketchbooks. I would have, a photo library, I was carrying this all around. I now can toss that all on a sheet and have it on my iPad. And then from that, I could capture and cut things. So I would do exactly what you did with your scripts and your typing, but I'll do it all on the iPad. Now, the change that I did is I I still have a fountain pen. I think better when I'm writing with a fountain pen. So I got a different screen cover that gives a more paper-like texture when I'm writing on my iPad. It's not quite a fountain pen feeling, but I don't think as well when I've got a smooth pencil going against a glass. I need the tactile feel like I'm writing on paper.
It's
So I
funny,
wanted
I've got
to,
my favorite pens, and I still do have the notepad going. This is when it gets to crunch time. It's like, okay, we need just pen and paper. We need post-it notes. Sorry, John, go on.
well,
No,
I
no.
wanted
Well,
to celebrate what you guys are talking about, which is physical pen skills. And I'm sharing a screen from Disney where they just show you animatics are that step that make everything fall into place. So what I'm showing is just frame by frame, they are showing the finished piece and the sketches. In other words, thousands of hours of compute time is not going to be wasted until you've got the sketch time perfect. And you're going to follow exactly what was sketched in order to create the video game or the animated film. And so what you guys are talking about of just getting everything lined up perfectly is it's a big step and most people ignore it.
It's it's funny, like that. This is, when you're doing CGI, and a lot of the bigger blockbusters, they have to do all of this, like they have to plan it out in precise detail. But the film that just came out, what's that sci-fi film? Gareth Edwards' latest film. He kind of went the other way with it, and just they didn't have anything planned out ahead, and they just said to Industrial Light and Magic, like, we're going to want you to sort of turn some of these people into robots, but we don't know who yet. And so they'd go out and they'd find the environments and they'd react to all these different situations and shoot all this footage, and then just with no tracking markers, with none of that, they were able to just make that look super, sort of put the robot in here, put the VFX in there. And that's like the other side of this, like the level that the level that it's getting to now, instead of having to sort of like have a massive green screen studio and build out loads of parts of the sets, which cost like hundreds of thousands of pounds. They just fly a crew of like 20 people to all over the world and get the footage, and then they can sort of figure this out in post. So that's kind of crazy how the technology has gone as allowing all these different forms of expression. But yeah, for that animatic stuff, definitely, like you have to have someone that's very fast and really good at like churning these drawings out. And I think like that's a skill that takes a long time to develop. And being able to
In
sort of get
my
the computer
past
to do
life
that a bit.
a past life at a college that trained kids to be those people, it's some of them aren't really fast, but there's a lot of them and they're really good, and you
Right.
just got to get it done. But I want to celebrate you, Michael, in that you are looking at both sides. The totally scripted, top down, here's the score, let's play it. And the improvisation that happens from, oh, go to this place, see what you can get. And by bringing the interplay between those two is changing dramatically. Where there's room to improvise, where you really need structure. It's fascinating. To me, that's exciting. And all the AI that's coming on board is just going to make it more available for people. And you're sort of riding what I see you doing with QCam is you're riding that surf cresting wave of what can I do today? I can do this now. And so for me, that puts me in a place where I've got a wild ride and I get to play, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
and I
I
love
need
that.
to leave, by the way.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
got
that's what
a
I was going to say. We need to
I've got a
let you
hard
go.
stop. So I'm going to disappear and thank everybody, and we will see you again soon.
John, always a
All right,
pleasure to
thank you
chat
so
with
much.
you, and glad that we are able to share some of our conversations today with Michael.
Thanks so much, John. And yeah, we'll let you jump off. But yeah, I'll just add one note on the reason that it's like that is, I've been trying to make my solo live music performances that way for years, where I can have something that's on the rails and rehearsed and practiced, but when you're in a certain moment and a certain you're able to sort of go off script and just improvise for a bit, and sort of draw and sketch, and then kind of get back onto the track. And I think it seems to be working really well for speaking.
No,
I
I think
see.
think it is working well, and I think, and this is one of the things that in my early days of teaching, I'll date myself. I had transparencies. I don't know, Michael. Were you in schools when
Yeah,
those
yeah,
things? Yeah, okay.
yeah. In the
You don't have
'90s,
as
they
much
still had
gray hair as I
transparencies.
have. And I had an order on them. They tended to be in packets. There might be four in one theme, another theme, and they'd be added together, and that'd be my whole lecture. But the way I presented them, they were sitting on a table, and I would grab them. They were in random order. And then this back in the days with my kids, and you'll find out with your son eventually that they're very useful. They could do things. So my kids at the end of my lecture would put my transparencies back in the numbered order, because I kept in the numbered order. And after about 4 or 5 times, the kids go, "Why don't you put them in the order?" Well, first they said, "Why don't you just present them in the order that the numbers are? Why at the end of the time are they all out of order?" And it took them, 4 or 5 times to go, "Oh, the numbers are the structure that's in your mind. The order is what comes to you at that moment." And that's what made the lecture. And I think
So
that
it's
came
part
from
of
early days of jazz inspiration. When you're in a dance band, yeah, there's the score, but if you're going to improvise, then you've got that freedom to jump off, but you know where you're going to come back to.
Yeah, and it's about, ironically, he says, interrupting, but it's about listening, right? It's about actually you're in the room and reacting to what's happening instead of just being a robot that just is going to say the thing you're going to say and then leave. Like that, I think what a really interesting live performance or an interesting talk or interesting in education where like if someone can really adapt to what's currently happening, who's in the room, what they're saying, and not sort of feel like, oh well, the fact that you have this loose stack, you can sort of jump, you can flick through and grab the one that you want and just jump to that. And I think that's sort of the same as I can click the little triangle next to a slide lower down in QCam and sort of I can see all my slides like that and just sort of jump to them. And I think it's a similar principle. So
Well,
I think that works well.
yeah, I think, and that's the power that that the client that I'm working with that wants to do this in customer support is they did have slide decks that the support people would do to teach them through a process. But all once they say you got the problem, or well, let's skip this slide. We'll skip this slide, and this is where we are. And it was because there was no, even though you could quote do that in a keynote presentation, most of them weren't doing it. They weren't running a keynote. They were just transferring the presentation or the PowerPoint and just advancing. So the only way they could get to the next one was multiple advances within their tool. You're now providing that input, that capability within the delivery mode of QCamp Presenter. And
Yeah.
you actually have so many choices with the audio and the video. And I've been playing with, the whole idea of you got a card, and then I have card A, card B, and when I'm doing presentations with the parts, we're talking, well, this is for middle school kids, this is for elementary school kids, and they can make decks that are like that. And again, we've took one of the presentations and recorded it, transcribed it, put in a chat GTP, asked them to retranslate it to a different grade level and put that into the teleprompter notes. And that made it easy for the ranger to go, oh, I could take some of the mental load off of, I need to speak for a middle school student rather than a high school student because of the cues and the prompts were there. So I think you're really not only the mix of your shoot and the video pencil and your cue cam, but the adding of the ability to take advantage of what's happening in AI. You're really changing the structure of how people do presentations. At least that's John and I went through that sort of discussion of what he was doing. It's not only how he created these shows, but how he's doing it much faster and creating different things that he wouldn't normally have done with other tools.
Cool. John's muted. Thanks, John. I know you've got some sounds in the background. Cyprian, we'll wrap it up, but Cyprian was just asking what screen cover you use for that pencil thing.
I will have to find it, but it's a paper. It's called paper something, paper screen. It's on Amazon. I'll find it, but there's a number of them where they give a texture. And then the texture, the one I like, and I wish I could have in mind, is magnetic. So what's good about it is there's texture screens that you could put on that they're permanent. But this one, when I don't want that texture, it's just magnetic, and I have a little thing that I slip it in.
Nice. I really like. I feel like writing with an Apple Pencil feels like a nice posh pen, to be honest, on a smooth screen. But yeah, I wouldn't mind trying one of those things. Let's wrap it up. And I will say, yeah, I'm still waiting, Cyprian, for you to come and see if you can give this a go. I think I'm gonna try it a different way than streaming out of Zoom. I'm gonna maybe try an eCam screen capture of a Zoom window or something. I think this was a bit of a chaotic session today, but we'll in terms of going live, and it's not multi-streaming to LinkedIn. But yeah, still looking for that to happen. Still, and hopefully this demonstrates that it's something that I want to do and I'm taking seriously. If you want to find me, Michael@squares.tv. If you want to find us on Discord, just go to squares.tv/Discord, and that's a good place to get a bit of help and support when I'm asleep. And I think if I can find my window. Yeah, I just wanted something to play us out, so I just grabbed a random snippet of a live video from when I was on Twitch. This is when I kind of set up my live stream to use this app called Endless, where other people could play their own loops into my live stream, and that was some fun sessions while I was doing it. So this is going to be about 30 seconds of that. But before that, thank you so much, John, for joining me today.
And thank you for letting me be part of this process of learning a brand new piece of software. This is always fun. And for the responsiveness that you do, not only for John and I, but we follow in Discord. So I will vouch that if you find something, need something, put it in Discord, because it's probably going to happen.
Eventually. I feel like I'm behind on a few things. Anyway, cheers. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. See you soon. And I shall play a bit of music. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Jeff. And hopefully, figure out how to end this once the music's finished. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.